Hey, in this shop tour video, I will explain why we chose to invest in a dedicated tool presetter. And I'll also show how implementing a smart plug system has streamlined our operations by eliminating repetitive, silly tasks. Plus, it kept us from burning the shop down. That's a true story. Let's get started. So when we started, we talked about gauge length. This was a game changer in our shop because to measure gauge length on one machine requires that machine to be stopped, and it requires a person to be there and to touch it off, and then all the writing. So we invested in this, it's called a tool setter, Haas tool setter, with a 400 millimeter capacity. So for example, if we have tools, so we'll take a tool like this, we'll drop it in here, we'll align it. So when you start to spin it, what it's gonna do is it's gonna start measuring the diameter, and you can even see like there's a little hair on this right here. So we would adjust this, we would slide it over. I don't wanna do this because I don't know where they're at, but you would pick up the diameter, you would raise it so you find the very tip of the tool as well. And then that information is stored in the computer. You hit print and it prints out that QR code with all the relevant information that we picked up from this device. Then it gets scanned into the machines. Very high end. To be honest, most shops don't need this. It's when you have multiple machines that could potentially share a tool. Again, eliminating any chance of a defect, any chance of like accidentally hitting the wrong letter. Oh, quick story. We had a shipment that was going to Washington State. The guy called and said, hey, I got some good news and bad news. I tracked my order, and the good news, it's arrived. The bad news is it arrived in Qatar, the country of Qatar. What? When the guy was entering his address, if you notice, the easiest way to get between fields is to hit tab. He fat fingered the Q when he pressed tab. And instead of selecting the country of United States, Q for Qatar is the first country with a Q. And so we shipped his $3,000 order, and he paid $500 to ship it to an address that didn't exist in Qatar. That's the pain behind fat fingering something. So can you imagine what would happen? Like, yeah, he had to just eat the $500 and we shipped it to him. But can you imagine like if we said, hey, this is like 5 inches, and we missed the decimal and we said it's 0.5 inches, it would bury that tool. It would probably lock up the spindle, break the tool holder, work holding might be compromised. It would be a major issue. By using this type of system, we're eliminating the waste of defects. So there's lots of things to turn on and off in the morning. Like each one of these mist away mist collectors has a power plug. So at the end of the day, we're going around unplugging each one. At the beginning of the morning, plugging each one. Our vent fans, every morning we'd have to come over, plug it in. And it was crazy. And like at the end of the day, like we try, and at 4 o'clock, our energy rates like quadruple. It's pretty crazy. So you can tell in winter when a dude left a heater on like by his stand because it's pulling like I don't know how many watts, and you'll see a spike in the weekend. It's like, hey dude, you owe the company $25 for keeping your fan or your heater on. Like I haven't done that, but that's what it would cost to forget to turn something off. So like for example, we've got all of our this app that we happen to use, not endorsing it or anything like that, but it has everything, every plug that needs to go on and off in the entire shop, and it turns on automatically and it turns off automatically. So like here's one, the accumulator conveyor right there is plugged into a circuit that can go on and off. What's another one? Oh, our coffee maker, like you shouldn't leave, you know, inductive devices on. Our laminator, so we have a little Amazon Basics laminator that we laminated a page, forgot to turn it off. We came in on the next morning, it was like brown because it had like heated and overheated. The table behind it almost caught on fire. And so now when we turn it on, it turns off within 15 minutes. Little side story, it's just one of those things. Okay, so if you watch those fans, lathe side roof fans, I tap that, and as you can see, they're decelerating, they're turning off. It's all that little stuff, you know? Why should we ever mess with that? Just make things automatic. Mill side roof fans. Yeah, all those little things. So we didn't come in and say, hey, we gotta automate all this. It was like, what's one thing that bugs us that's kind of a process defect that we could employ some type of technology or different process to make this problem go away? Smart plugs. Nothing new, we're not geniuses. Wyatt implemented it. Another guy, Kyle, said, I'm gonna buy it. You set it up, Kyle, put it, share the password with everyone. They got it on their phones. They got it here, 2 different workstations, tap on and off. What a much nicer place to work. And at 2 o'clock, all these things turn off automatically. No over processing, so. And then, yeah, Max, we used to have these gloves scattered all over the shop. No one wanted to like replace them. Now the question is, where do we use the gloves? Well, we always come here to our tool cabinet, we call it AM Industrial, and we grab gloves. Again, why are we opening a drawer to grab gloves? Why don't we just like put them out where everyone uses them? It used to be on the tabletop. Why are we using this precious space? Why don't we 3D print something and put the gloves there? Thank you, Max. 3D printed it, years later, we still use that. All those little improvements, it's so easy to do. And look, as engineers, it's fun to design stuff. We could have gone and bought the same thing for probably like 15 bucks on Amazon. But did Max learn something in designing this? I hope he did. Max introduced 3D printing on a larger scale in our company. He taught what, Kyle? Yeah. Kyle ran with it. And it's just like, there's 3D printed stuff like everywhere. We've got 3D printed stuff. It's just, if we can, we do it. So yeah, that's fun. Actually, there's these bins, these red bins called Schaller bins, which I think these types of guys, they're great. We had them in here for years, but as you notice, they weren't the ideal size, and we were losing a little bit of capacity. So Kyle said, hey, we can increase capacity. Instead of buying another drawer or cart, why don't we just reprint these? They don't make this size, but I'll spend, you know, like 2-3 hours printing these, you know, 4 or 5 of them a day. And then in the morning, we'll slowly start to replace the Schaller bins with our custom 3D printed bins little by little. Great. And so guess what happens there? We have more capacity. The company no longer has a need for a second cart. There's no over processing by looking through 2 carts. It's Kyle's idea. Hey, at the end of the month, little cash bonus because you made the company more efficient. You're more valuable by using brain power. Everyone wins. Company wins because we're not over processing. Kyle wins, gets a pay bump, trickle out. So if you're enjoying this shop tour series and want more behind the scenes content of how we here at Pierson Workholding innovate our own production, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more lean tips and tricks. Now, go innovate your production.